What if I told you you can turn vegetables into a delicious demi-glaze that takes a fraction of the amount of time to make compared to a traditional demi-glaze, and it still tastes absolutely insane? But to put it to the test, we'll be also making a New York strip steak to see if our vegetable demi-glaze can boost its flavor. So follow along and let's get to cooking. Alrighty, so the first thing we're gonna need is the largest sheet pan you have available. The bigger the better, because you're gonna be putting ideally a lot of vegetables on this sucker. On top of that, you're gonna need my favorite finger slicer, a mandolin. Now, if you don't have a mandolin, don't worry, I'll explain a couple other options you have in terms of chopping your vegetables. Oh, we're also gonna set our oven to convection bake at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And now we're gonna start chopping our ingredients. And just a heads up, I'm not gonna use any exact measurements by cups or grams. We're just gonna grab the vegetable itself and cut it. We're gonna make this really easy on ourselves. Don't overcomplicate it with measuring stuff. With that being said, the first thing we're gonna cut is our eggplant. I'm gonna set our mandolin slicer to a pretty thin setting, and then I'm just gonna run my eggplant and getting nice thin slices out of it. You can see here the slices are nice and thin, and if you don't have a mandolin slicer like this, what you can also use instead is a food processor with one of the little slicing attachments like this. The next thing we're gonna cut now is 1 head's worth of broccoli, one of these bigger heads, not the tiny ones. Now you're gonna slice the broccoli normally as you did with the eggplant, and don't worry when you get to the head of the broccoli, it's gonna get a little messy and just kind of explode everywhere. Don't stress about cutting that super thin. And if you want to, use one of these safety guards as well. It makes this a lot safer. Next, we're gonna grab 2 carrots and run them through our mandolin normally. Thankfully, these are a lot easier to slice than the broccoli. Next, I'm gonna grab a yellow onion, and I'm not gonna bother peeling it or cutting the tip off. I'm just gonna run it through the mandolin as is and get nice thin slices. Keep the outside skin in there, it's all good. If you can't tell, I'm trying to make this recipe as easy and carefree as possible. And lastly, we're gonna throw in 1 small packet of baby Bella mushrooms. And these are a little intimidating to cut with the mandolin slicer, and they actually might be easier to cut with a knife, but a little tip I have for you is to turn the mushroom on its side and begin to slice it down the mandolin slicer. This gives you the furthest distance from your fingers to the blade, and then once you start getting a little close to that blade, you could turn it again on its side, keeping that distance as far away as possible. And again, use this plastic safety guard if you're not comfortable using the mandolin slicer. This is a finger saver, literally. Now I'm gonna grab a can of tomato paste and throw in about 3 to 4 tablespoons on top of our veggies. This is about like 3/4 of the can, and I'm also gonna hit it with a very generous squeeze of olive oil. Think twice as much as what I'm putting here. Now it's time to get our hands dirty, quite literally, because we're gonna be mixing all those ingredients with each other. Take your time with it, mix it as best as you can, and be careful not to spill anything over the side of your sheet pan. In the end, you should have a nice concoction of varying vegetables covered in tomato paste and olive oil on your sheet pan. Now from here, we're gonna throw it into our oven that's been preheated at 300 degrees. Cook time will vary, but I'm gonna be checking it in about 45 minutes to an hour. In the meantime, I'm gonna clean everything that we just used that's gotten dirty. So the mandolin slicer is getting washed, as well as the can opener just slightly, my cutting board that has a little bit of food that fell on it, and the countertop that has food all over it. And if you're liking this video, I would greatly appreciate a like and subscribe. Either way, let's check our vegetables. Now it's been an hour, and I'm gonna take our vegetables out of the oven and take a look at them, and they have a nice little bit of coloring on them, but I don't think it's enough. So I'm actually gonna throw it back in the oven for another 30 minutes, and I'm gonna crank up the temperature slightly to 325 degrees. Now after an additional 30 minutes, I'm gonna take our pan out of the oven, and as you can see, a nice bit of color has developed on our vegetables. It's really important you get that browning because it adds an extra depth of flavor that really is required for a demi-glaze. Now I'm gonna grab a pot that can easily fit all of our vegetables, and I'm gonna now toss those vegetables in that pot. And if you look closely, there's a little bit of a fond that's developed in our pan, as well as some of the vegetables have like glued and stuck to it. Now we wanna especially incorporate that into our pot. So we're gonna grab 1 cup of water, pouring it in our pan, and then scraping off all that fond as well as caked on veggies that are stuck to it. Once you've scraped it all up, you're gonna pour that 1 cup of liquid into our pot, and then you're gonna pour in an additional 5 cups of water as well. Now I'm gonna bring this up to high heat until we get a light simmer, so you want small little bubbles, and then I'm gonna lower it to medium, low, and let it simmer for 30 minutes. And in case you wanna know the nitty-gritty details, I consider a simmer to be 180 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have one of these digital thermometers, get one. They're the best tool you can use in the kitchen, second to a knife. Now while our pot is simmering for 30 minutes, now is a great time to clean everything you just dirtied. So I'm gonna clean the sheet pan we used, as well as the spatula and the measuring cup. And if you're wondering why I'm cleaning the measuring cup if I only put water in it, it's purely just because of OCD. There's a tiny bit of speckle of veggie that hit the corner of it, and for some reason I told myself I have to clean it. After 30 minutes of letting it simmer, you can see the water has absorbed a lot of the flavors from our vegetables. It's gained a nice dark, deep color. The veggies themselves look all gloopy and kind of gnarly, but whatever. What I'm gonna do now is grab a medium-sized bowl and a strainer, and I'm gonna pour the liquid into the bowl, straining out all the solids. You can get a better look here to see what kind of color this is turned into, and it looks amazing already. Now we're gonna reduce this a little bit more to enhance the flavors. So we're gonna put this into a small pot and strain it once more. Be careful when you're straining it too, don't spill it all over your cutting board like I did here, but now we're gonna reduce this further for another 30 minutes at that same medium-low 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, and I forgot, you're gonna put in 2 sprigs of rosemary in here to reduce with it. I would have preferred thyme, but the grocery store had other plans for me, and for some reason, I couldn't find it, so we're using rosemary. Now, after 30 minutes, you can see our sauce has reduced slightly. I'm gonna skim off a little bit of a top layer that's accumulated, and I'm gonna remove our rosemary as well. From here, you wanna season the sauce with salt. Now, this will vary depending how much liquid you have, but I put in 6 grams of salt, which is just 1.5 teaspoons. Now, when I tasted it when it was seasoned, I was so shocked by the flavors that I had to let my girlfriend try it and our dog.
Soup.
That's good soup. That's good soup.
Good soup?
Damn, you drank that real quick. Now our demi-glace is done, but we do want to work on the consistency and the thickness of it. I want to get it a little thicker. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a small container, and in it I'm gonna put 3 tablespoons worth of cornstarch and 3 tablespoons worth of water. I'm gonna mix that sucker around, making a little cornstarch slurry, and I'm gonna pour only half of it in our liquid. Now it takes roughly 1 tablespoon worth of cornstarch to thicken 1 cup of liquid, so I think we have around 3 cups here, but I'm gonna put it in batches because you don't wanna put too much because you can't take it out once you put it in. Now you might need to bring your pot back up to medium-high heat, but give it 2 minutes of you constantly stirring to see its thickness, and if it's not thick enough, pour the rest of the slurry in. In the end, you should get a slightly thickened sauce that's still runny, but it has a nice little texture to it, and the flavor is exactly the same. And now you have vegetable demi-glace, and not just a little bit, you have a lot of it that you can store in your fridge and use it for other cooking projects. I am gonna quickly make a steak now to see how it pairs with a nice piece of red meat. I got here a nice New York strip steak, and for the fun of it, I'm gonna score the fat cap in a checkered pattern. So I'm gonna score it diagonally, and then I'm gonna turn it and score it diagonally again to get a nice little checkered design. From here, I'm gonna put it on a sheet tray with a rack, and I'm gonna hit it with an insane amount of salt on every single side. This steak is a little bit more than 1 inch thick, so don't be scared to season it really aggressively. It needs it so that way it gets into the steak itself. After it's been salted, I'm gonna throw it into the fridge and let it dry brine for as little as 20 minutes, but really, go longer if you can. Now my steak has been resting and dry brining in the fridge for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours now. I'm gonna take it out of the fridge, and as you can see, it's firmed up quite a bit, and there's a little bit of liquid from the salt pulling out the moisture of the steak. With a paper towel, I'm gonna pat it dry and brush off any excess salt, and then I'm gonna grab a medium-sized pan, setting it to medium-high heat, letting it preheat. Once it's preheated, I'll pour in a tablespoon of olive oil, and then once it begins to smoke, I'll throw down my steak in there, giving it a hard sear. Now I'm gonna sear one side of our steak for 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna give it a flip and give the other side a sear for an additional 2 minutes. I'm gonna flip it one more time and then sear it for an additional 1 minute. I just wanna really develop that outside crust here for the presentation. I'm also gonna turn it on its side and give it a light sear on its fat cap, and then I'm gonna check the internal temperature to see where we're at, and as you can see, we're still very raw. I'm aiming for an internal temperature of 120 degrees, so I'm gonna now throw it in an oven set to 350 for about 2 to 3 minutes. About 3 minutes later, I'm gonna pull it out of the oven, checking the internal temperature, and we're right at 120 degrees. Perfect. I'm gonna set it to the side and let it cool on a cooling rack for 8 minutes, and then I'm gonna slice it and plate it and drizzle our beautiful veggie demi-glace over it. Now there's only one thing we gotta do now, which is taste this sucker. I didn't even check. Go forget over here.
Good?
Very good. Oh wow. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. I'm not gonna do a full outro.
You want me to do an outro?
No, you want to?
Eat Xander's food!
Comes over here.